everyone knows what an interpreting mode is. I'm Jonathan Downey, this is Inside Interpreting, and this is the third in my short series of short videos on basic theoretical concepts. Interpreting mode, we all know what that is. Simultaneous or consecutive or dialogue or... Hold on, I'm getting confused already. Because some interpreters, when they get dialogue interpreting, when you're interpreting both ways between two different languages, some interpreters tell me that's consecutive. Other interpreters tell me that's dialogue interpreting. What is it? I mean, is there such a thing as simultaneous dialogue interpreting? Yes, there is. I've done that. That's question and answer sessions at conferences, or people having panel sessions or conversations on stage. We've all done dialogue interpreting simultaneously. Oh, hold on a minute. I'm getting lost again. So hold on. Dialogue interpreting can be consecutive or simultaneous, depending on how it's done and possibly on the equipment that's available. And simultaneous interpreting is always simultaneous, right? No, we all know there's a lag between you hearing what the interpreter said and the speaker having said it. Okay, so simultaneous interpreting is not quite simultaneous, but at least the interpreter's working at roughly the same time as the speaker. Okay, that's fine. And consecutive is presumably done with notes and you have to wait for the speaker to finish. Yeah, I think I've got that. What about when the interpreter's on stage working a sentence or two at a time? Now, often they might not use any notes, there might not be any place for them to put their notepad, and they're alternating turns with the speaker, so it kind of sounds like consecutive but without notes. But then they're relying on their short-term recall, their short-term memory to be able to do their job, and they can't cycle back to anywhere earlier in the speech to try to clarify stuff. So it sounds a bit like simultaneous, really. And in fact, Franz Purhacker, whose book is on that shelf behind me, kind of sees consecutive interpreting as like a scale, if you like, from long consecutive to short consecutive. But Jill Carlick, who studied short consecutive interpreting in churches, pointed to overlapping turns and the shortness of the interpreter's rendition and the cognitive strain on them and said, it kind of looks more like simultaneous interpreting to me. Okay, so let me slow this down. Simultaneous interpreting is when you're interpreting at the same time as the speaker. But there's also a form of consecutive interpreting which seems to share common features with simultaneous interpreting, but because you most of the time have to wait for the speaker to finish, we think we're going to call it consecutive interpreting. And consecutive interpreting, you wait for the speaker to finish and take notes, but sometimes you might be interpreting a conversation, in which case you may or may not take notes, and you're working on short segments just like the people working on short consecutive interpreting on the stage, which we've just said shares some of the features with simultaneous interpreting. And sometimes when you're interpreting simultaneously, you're simultaneously interpreting a conversation, which means that you're switching languages back and forth all the time, like someone doing dialogue interpreting, which may or may not be done consecutively. Am I the only person who's confused right now? I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just going through the basic ideas of interpreting mode. Now, I know these terms are useful. We put them on contracts for a reason. But oh my goodness, it's far more complicated than we think. Interpreting modes bleed into each other. They're not hard barriers anymore. And then we get whispered interpreting and oh my goodness. Okay, we can breathe out now. I think that's everything we know about interpreting modes. Just don't ask me. Just don't ask anyone whether it's better to interpret simultaneously or consecutively, because I'm confused. I'm Jonathan Downey, and this is Inside Interpreting.